My name is Jenny. It's been a couple of weeks since that fateful Sunday when my parents showed up at my front door, and the memories are still as raw as ever. Standing there, looking at their shocked faces as the old key didn't fit the lock, I knew I had made the right decision. It was a moment that capped off a series of events that had been building up for years. I'm a pediatric nurse at Meadowbrook Community Hospital. I've been in this profession for 8 years, working 3 12-hour shifts a week and picking up overtime when the patient census is high. My husband, Ryan, is an orthopedic surgeon. He's got a calm demeanor and gentle hands, the kind of man who can reassure a scared child and set a broken bone with equal ease. He was in Chicago that week for a medical conference he'd booked 6 months ago. We have 2 lovely kids. Ethan is 8 and Lily is 6. I've always been the go-to person in my family. Whenever someone needs a favor, they call me. Need someone to water the plants while on vacation? Call Jenny. Need a ride to the airport at the crack of dawn? Call Jenny. But when Ethan got the lead role in his school play, my mother found out about it from a post on social media. I learned early on that asking for attention was a quick way to feel ignored, so I stopped asking. I took charge, managed everything, and somewhere along the way, my family started to think I didn't need anything. A few months ago, I started having problems with my gallbladder. The sharp pain after meals and the nausea were making my night shifts unbearable. My doctor scheduled a laparoscopic cholecystectomy 2 weeks before Ryan's conference. It was supposed to be a routine surgery, in and out in 4 hours. Ryan offered to cancel his trip, but I told him not to worry. I called my mother, Carol, a few days before. Mom, I need surgery next Tuesday. Can you and Dad watch Ethan and Lily from 7 to about noon? Carol, a well-to-do socialite, replied in her haughty tone. Of course, dear. Bring them over at 6:30. We'll take good care of them. I packed overnight bags for the kids, filled with extra clothes, toothbrushes, Ethan's favorite book, and Lily's teddy bear. I wrote down their schedules, allergies, and emergency numbers, and put everything in a manila folder. That folder would end up being the most important thing in my life. On Tuesday morning, at 6:45, I drove to my parents' house. It's a large, elegant mansion on Elm Street. Dad, Henry, a retired corporate executive, opened the door in his silk pajamas. He's always been a man of few words and has never really stood up for me. He took Ethan's backpack without a word. Ethan was dragging his feet, not excited about staying with his grandparents. Carol was in the kitchen, sipping her expensive coffee. She hugged me briefly and took the manila folder. Don't worry, dear.
We've got this, she said.
Lily was clinging to my leg. I knelt down, peeled her fingers off one by one, and kissed her forehead. Mommy will be back before dinner. Grandma is going to take good care of you. Lily just stared at me with her big, blue eyes and held on tighter. Carol's phone buzzed on the marble counter. She glanced at it and quickly put it face down.
Who was that?
I asked casually. Oh, just my friend, Vivian. Something about a charity event, she replied.
I didn't think much of it at the time.
The drive to Meadowbrook Community Hospital took about 25 minutes. I knew every turn and shortcut on this route. Usually I'm the one in scrubs swiping my badge at the staff entrance, but today I was the patient. In the pre-op room, a nurse I knew from the pediatric floor started my 4. I texted Ryan. Kids are with Mom and Dad. Love you. He replied, love you too. Call me when you're out. The anesthesiologist came in. He explained the procedure and I lay back on the table. As I closed my eyes, my last thought was that my kids were safe with my parents. For hours later, I woke up to a beeping monitor and a throbbing pain on my right side. I turned my head and saw my phone on the side table. I reached for it, and my fingers felt clumsy. When I tapped the screen, it lit up with 14 missed calls, all from my neighbor, Mrs. Thompson. She's a 70-year-old retired librarian who lives in the cozy cottage next door. She's watched my kids play in the yard for years. I opened the text first. The first one said, Jenny, your kids are at my house. Your parents left. Call me when you can. The others were filled with worry and updates about the kids. I called her immediately. Mrs. Thompson, what happened? I asked, my voice shaking. She told me that my parents had left around 11:30. She was in her garden when she saw my dad's fancy car drive away. Then she noticed the kids sitting on the porch alone, with Lily crying. I was in shock. I called my mother. She picked up on the third ring, sounding as if nothing had happened. Hi, dear. How did the surgery go? I cut her off. Where are my children? There was a pause, and then she said, Oh, Mrs. Thompson called you. Your father took me to help Vivian with an urgent matter. The kids were napping when we left. I was furious. They were on the porch, crying. Why did you leave them alone? And then she said the words that would haunt me. Vivian needed us more. It was an important charity event. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told her, Don't come to my house. Don't call my children. And I hung up. That night, as I lay in the hospital bed, I started to think about all the times my parents had let me down. When I graduated from nursing school, they were an hour late because they had to attend a business dinner. When Ryan and I got married, they complained about the simple backyard wedding and left early to go to a social event. I realized that this was a pattern and I couldn't let it continue, especially when it involved my children. The next day, when I got home from the hospital, Mrs. Thompson brought the kids over. Ethan walked up to me and said, Mom, I took care of Lily. I knelt down and hugged them both tightly. Lily looked up at me and said, Grandma said Aunt Vivian needed her more. My heart broke. That evening, Ryan called from Chicago. I told him everything, and he was silent for a long time. Then he said, I'm coming home. You shouldn't have to deal with this alone. I sat at the kitchen table that night, looking at the manila folder. I decided to take action. I made a list. Change the locks, update the school pickup list, rewrite the will, change the power of attorney, update the medical directive, and change the insurance beneficiaries. The next morning, I called a locksmith. A man named Tom arrived in his van. He didn't ask any questions as he changed the locks on my front and back doors and updated the garage code. I paid him $350 in cash. I gave one key to Mrs. Thompson, kept one for myself, and mailed one to Ryan. On Thursday, I went to Ethan and Lily's school. I walked into the front office and told the secretary, Mrs. Harris, that I needed to update the authorized pickup list. I crossed out my parents' names and wrote Mrs. Thompson's name instead. Mrs. Harris looked at me with understanding. I also updated the emergency medical authorization form, removing my parents and adding Ryan's sister, Sarah. On Friday, I went to see my lawyer, Mr. Davis. I told him I needed to make changes to my will, power of attorney, and medical directive. He didn't seem surprised. He removed my parents from all the documents and named Sarah as the guardian and decision maker for my children. On Saturday, I called my life insurance company. I changed the contingent beneficiary from my mother to Sarah. The agent on the phone seemed a bit taken aback, but processed the change. As I was making these changes, my parents started calling and texting. My mother left voicemails that went from cheerful to worried to angry. My father sent a text saying, Your mother is very upset. Call her. My Aunt Vivian also sent a message saying I was being unreasonable. I didn't respond to any of them. A week after the surgery, my sister, Lisa, called. She said, Jenny, you're being too harsh. It was just a mistake. I told her, it's not just this one time. It's a pattern. I'm protecting my children. She had no answer. 2 weeks later, it was Sunday. I knew my parents were coming. They always thought they could fix things with a fancy dinner. I got the kids dressed. Ethan picked out his favorite superhero shirt, and Lily insisted on wearing her princess dress. I put the manila folder by the front door. At 5:15, I heard their car pull into the driveway. My mother was carrying a fancy casserole dish. She walked up to the door and tried to use her old key. It didn't work. She tried again, looking confused. My father came up and tried, but it was the same result. I opened the door. I was standing straight, wearing a nice blouse and with my hair pulled back. I held the manila folder in my hand. My mother's face lit up for a second, but then she saw the folder. What's going on? She asked. I opened the folder and showed her the school pickup form with their names crossed out, the updated will, the insurance change confirmation, and the medical directive. My mother's face turned pale.
You can't do this, she said.
I looked at her and said, "You left my children alone on a porch while I was in surgery for a so-called charity event. I'm not going to let you do this to my kids." My father tried to intervene, saying, "Blood is thicker than water. You can't cut us off." I replied, "You've never put me or my children first. It's time for a change." My mother's composure broke. "You'll regret this," she said. I stepped back and closed the door. The new lock clicked shut. Inside, Ethan asked, "Is Grandma coming in?" I said, "Not today, baby." Ryan came over and put his arm around me. "You did the right thing," he said. "It's been a few weeks since then. My parents haven't called or come by. I don't know if it's pride or punishment. Ethan has stopped asking about his grandparents, and Lily still mentions them sometimes. But I know I've made the right decision. I'm finally standing up for myself and my children. The hardest thing was not cutting off my family. It was staying and hoping for change. This is my story, and I hope it reminds you to protect what's most important. If this story resonates with you, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.